right, welcome back to another podcast with me, Ashish Fernando. This is Edu Unlocked, and joining us today from the wonderful campus at Stanford University, California, is our investor, a good friend, and trusted partner in everything we do, Zamir Shuko. Thank you, Zamir, for being here.
Thank you, Ashish, for having me.
Fantastic. I am so excited because you're the first non-EDU, non-institution, non-student person that I have on my podcast. And we have listeners from all over the world who are students aspiring to be entrepreneurs. We have institutions who are thinking about how to put entrepreneurship as part of their curriculum. So who better than one of our own investors at iSchool and somebody who lives in California and works a lot with institutions to help us understand how do we even do this? How do we solve the world's problem?
Hey, I'll do my best to share some of my experience, but we can try to solve the problems one step at a time.
Fantastic. So to start off, I'm jealous. Why California and why Silicon Valley for you to set up your base, other than, of course, it's an investment mecca?
Well, that would be the reason number one, because I've been working with startups for over a decade now, building accelerators. Last couple of years, I've been running my own venture fund, Vibranium VC. So Silicon Valley is the best place in the world to start a company, to get funding, to find the right talent, and to scale globally. But besides that, I just love California for its weather, nice nature, and really friendly people. If you think about it, Silicon Valley is not only the best place for startups to scale, it's, you can find a representative of any country here. If you want to do business with Southeast Asia, you can find, different offices, companies, corporations, and people from that region of the world. So basically any region of the world, if you think about it. So building a company and, great places like Stanford, Berkeley University, and there's such an awesome talent pool here. A lot of very talented people come here to study or to just learn how things are done in Silicon Valley. They meet other people, they build partnerships, etc. So much collaboration. And if you just think about it, every month here in the Bay Area, in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, there's over 300 events happening every month.
Wow.
On the startup theme, whatever it is, AI, different kind of technologies. Yeah. So with that many activities happening, it's very easy to find whatever you need for your success.
That's fantastic. I mean, I didn't go to Stanford or Berkeley, but I'm so glad I met you somewhere along the way, sitting on the East Coast. So good job getting the word out. I mean, it's been great. As a founder, to a person who's working so closely with so many other founders, so do you even believe in the concept of work-life balance?
It absolutely does exist, but it's very hard to find it, especially if you are building your own business. Because whenever somebody says, well, when I have my own company, I'll be my own boss, I'll work whenever I want. That's a misconception, because when you have your own business, yeah, you are your own boss, but work doesn't stop after you leave the office, because it basically chases you anywhere you go. With your phone, with your laptop, on a vacation, etc. I have a family, I have 3 children, and I've been running companies for many years as a CEO. And I did create some rules. And for myself and for my teammates, for my partners, that we have a work time, which is, in most of my companies was from 10 to 7 p.m., from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. We start a little later, but we work till evening. And all the weekends would be for the family. Only very rarely I would spend like a Saturday doing some work.
Yeah.
And the reason why I put those rules in place is because every time I would hear a billionaire give an interview, and whenever a journalist would ask him, what do you regret the most in your life? The common answer between all of them would be, I regret not spending enough time with my children when they were little, because I was too busy working, making money. So I made a hard choice of not getting to my, milestones and financial achievements before I turned 40, but I made a decision to spend more time with my kids when they're little, and basically create that work-life balance. So, I don't destroy the most precious thing that I'm building together with my wife while also building a business.
Clearly, that's so powerful. That's so powerful. But you do agree there was some compromise there. You couldn't really do both.
Absolutely, because the one resource that limits us is the time.
Yeah,
money you can earn, things you can buy, and you can achieve. But the time is, everybody has 24 hours in a day. So the way you allocate that time will affect what will grow. If you allocate most of your time into your business, you grow your business. If you allocate your time into your family, you grow your family. If you allocate your time into yourself, you grow yourself. So there are like few things you have to sacrifice, or you try to balance it in a way where you do a little bit of everything, but you kind of keep building it up as you go. So in case of the business, if you spend 40 hours a week rather than 60 or 80, you will grow slower.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you spend that leftover 20 hours or so helping your kids grow, and designated some time to yourself to stay healthy. That's another thing a lot of founders are neglecting, is physical health and mental health. They're putting so much pressure on themselves, putting high bars and trying to achieve them because they see a lot of success around them, especially in Silicon Valley. You got all these successful, famous people, and
peer pressure.
So there is a lot of pressure, and people are forgetting that if you are doing something and you're working very hard, but it makes you unhappy or it affects your physical or mental health eventually, this is not something you want to be doing. You got to change those patterns.
It's very strong, and I know you personally to know that it's not something every investor talks about. A lot of investors are just pushing their founders to a point where there's exhaustion and it's all about numbers. I'm actually very lucky to have you say that, to be very honest.
Well, because I've been a founder myself, I've raised money from investors, I've had board meetings, etc. I understand the pressure that goes along with the CEO position, because you are responsible not only for your business and for the numbers, you're responsible for the people you're hiring, their jobs, their families, their well-being. And I've always been one of those bosses that cared about the people, because building a startup is a long run. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And if you burn your people out within the first or second year, you're going to lose the most valuable asset that you have, the core team, the people who are supposed to build this together with you. So, you have to prepare yourself for the marathon and make sure you have properly spread the resources so you get to the finish line, because we're in this business to grow these companies, to exit, to get return on the investment. And this is a 10 or 12 year marathon. And if we keep pressuring our portfolio founders to get results here and now, and we basically burn them and burn the team within the 2-3 years, then, very much so they will fail and we will lose our investment. So I think it's counterintuitive to do that.
Yeah, true. And it shows in most of your portfolio, if not all, most of your portfolio companies are actually doing well, even through all the COVID and the downturn.
I can say so, and I'm pretty happy. There are few factors that played into that. First of all, the very thorough selection process. You remember the due diligence. We looked very carefully into every aspect of the business, the legal, the financial, technical sides, with the founder, the team. So we make decisions a little bit slower than other VCs, but looking back at, the way our portfolio companies are performing, we have 0 write-offs. And I think that's a very, very good KPI that we keep up.
Great KPI. So I'd love to switch to the student mindset, who has an entrepreneurial sort of mind, and then also talk about institutions a little later. So talking about students, we are sitting in Stanford. I mean, this is where a lot of really good innovation comes out of, right? A lot of entrepreneurs. And there's a great VC ecosystem. I mean, I was just driving by and there was Axel and Lightspeed, and they literally set up close by. So talk to me a little bit about students from around the world who are probably listening to this right now. If they were to aspire to become a founder, what are the ingredients they should be thinking about? A lot of what's really publicized is, yeah, you need an investor and you need money and, study at a good school like Stanford. As a person who's invested in so many companies, what have you seen as like the 1, 2, 3 factors for an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's a great question. Of course, I consider Stanford as the best school in the world for teaching entrepreneurship. And one of the reasons is, if you look at the stats, Stanford is dominating, is number one in the amount of unicorns coming out from the Stanford alumni folks. And as a private school, the school was kind of, built and flexible enough to see the new trends and understand that the technological world developing in this area, all those chip companies that started appearing, etc. So they quickly realized, okay, these are the things that are needed. This is the future. So they started building programs, to adhere to that audience and attract people from all over the world who want to build a tech company, and become a startup founder. So they did a really good job in terms of the proper marketing and putting themselves out there, and in terms of building programs, getting the proper staff and people to teach those programs. And again, what I like is, a lot of times it's the Stanford professors that teach, and then there's guest lecturers who are practitioners, VCs, entrepreneurs, successful CEOs, corporate representatives, etc. They come also and teach here. So that's a great blend of experience, knowledge, theoretical and practical knowledge that comes together, and that's what gives great results. Besides the networking and what you mentioned, the easy access or close access. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's close to the resources and to the financing. But
I'm sure there's competition here within.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's very high. It's very high. But you can build a startup in pretty much any place on the planet, as we look at it. I've been building accelerators in emerging markets like CIS region. We've done different programs with like China, India, Middle East, etc. We saw a lot of talent back, 15 years ago. We saw a lot of technical talent there, but the founders were lacking, marketing, sales, fundraising experience and knowledge. So we would build programs curated to that part of the business, basically building a business around the product and around the founder. So I'm 100% positive that you can teach entrepreneurship. It's not that you're born an entrepreneur and that's it. This is a skill you can teach. So some schools and some locations, they just manage to teach it well. One of them is Stanford and Silicon Valley. But right now we see a lot of great things happening, in Europe, in Southeast Asia, in Middle East. And there's so much attention now to the tech world, to the innovation ecosystem, to the startup founders, and a lot more resources, government resources as well, besides the private resources, are going into funding these young companies and young founders. And even if they fail, the way I look at it, if you are government of an emerging country, right, an emerging economy, if you invest into 1,000 startup founders and within several years all of them fail, that's still a good investment because they learned a lot through their journey, and the next company they start is going to be more likely to succeed.
That's true. Yeah. It's a very powerful statement. Again, I mean, to even think of that way, like I know there's a famous metric that 4 out of 5 companies in Silicon Valley will fail. But to even say it's okay for 5 out of 5 to fail, because the next time you look at the same 5, probably 4 are going to succeed. It's pretty great.
Yeah, especially when you want to build an ecosystem from scratch.
Yeah,
it's going to be extremely hard to copy the Silicon Valley model. Everybody tried, but they couldn't because there's too many factors here. There's too many players in this ecosystem. You can't just copycat. So every country has to kind of adapt the model, take the best practices, but do something local on their own. And one of the things I think every government out there can do is invest in entrepreneurs. Give them the money, let them try and fail, but they will learn so much from the failure that the next time they will build a successful company.
So this is my theory, is that you seem to be attracted to a lot of immigrant entrepreneurs as well as part of your portfolio. I mean, I'm an immigrant entrepreneur. I've met a few others. What do you see as a difference? Do you see anything special that immigrants bring in? Because a lot of our students, so like a lot of people we advise, they come from countries like India and, Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
What about them who want to start a business here? How's an investor looking at them?
Well, I'm an immigrant myself. I immigrated to the United States a few years ago with my family. And one of the focuses of our fund was looking at immigrant founders and what they're building. I think they have several advantages because typically when somebody wants to come to the United States, they have a dream and they're extremely motivated to make it happen. A lot of the founders or a lot of people who come to the United States, they don't really think of going back. Some of them don't have a chance to go back because something happened in their original country why they had to move. So it's basically a one-way. And for them succeeding, most likely if they're first-generation immigrants, they are the only person from their family that is here.
Yeah.
And for them succeeding is basically proving themselves and proving all their families and friends that they can, make it. So that's the motivation that drives a lot of immigrant founders to build successful companies. When you don't have your parents' couch to go back to, when if you fail, that's pretty much end of the road. Yeah, that's a pretty strong motivation to keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that I've noticed working with thousands of startups throughout the years of acceleration programs is the biggest advantage that makes somebody successful versus non-successful is the founder's motivation. Because building a startup is a hard work. You're going to hit so many, hardships, problems, roadblocks, etc. If you're not motivated enough to overcome those, you will give up and say, I'm going to go work for this corporation, make a lot more money, be safe.
Yeah,
work less, etc. So that's something that a lot of immigrant founders have in their core.
that is true.
So that's one of the strong things. Another thing I noticed is, good technical talent coming from the Eastern bloc of countries, in general, because math, programming, engineering is in the core of like high school education. If you compare high school education, I would say, some of those countries have better core education in high school level, but university education is very good here in the United States. That's another reason why a lot of people after high school in those countries, they want to come and study in the universities here. So that's another
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. I mean, yes, math, like for me, math was baked into my curriculum from grade 1. Like
absolutely.
Math. Absolutely. But yeah, the US really opened me up to so many things, investments and entrepreneurship. I wanted to come here and work for Amazon. 9 to 5.
Yeah. So that's the reason why we like immigrant founders because
that's cool.
If they make it here, especially on like a talent visa, they already got into top 1% top talent from their country.
Yeah.
So there's already a system that basically filters people out, allowing the most motivated, the smartest, the talented people to come, and then you just look at that number of people here. So there's been thousands and thousands of other people who couldn't make it. That's another aspect of us as VCs. We always look at these startups, founders kind of in a funnel way, right? We get bombarded with emails and messages every day. So how do you know who's the best? because you want to bet on the jockey, not on the horse, right? The jockey is the founder. You bet on the jockey because a good jockey can make a horse win.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
A bad jockey can even make a champion horse lose.
That's true. Yeah. Because if it wasn't the jockey, every time the same horse would win. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true. That's so true. Yeah, well, but immigrant founders, if you have a good idea, Vibranium.VC.
Come check it out.
All right, Zamir. So we spoke about students. We spoke about you. I'd love to talk about institutions because, like you said, I came to America with a dream of, making it successful, and I came to study. Came to Bentley. I studied there, and I thought, yeah, I'll be successful. And to most degree, I feel like been achieving something. So, talk to me about institutions. I see a lot of U.S. institutions now starting to really step up their entrepreneurship game. Right? So, I think even I met you because of the ASU GSV conference where I met a friend who introduced me to you, and it's run by Arizona State. Institutions come to us a lot of times asking, hey, what are your students looking for? And a lot of them want to be entrepreneurs. So tell us how you're helping schools like Stanford and others, and what should they be thinking of when they want to attract top talent from other countries to do entrepreneurship on campus?
Yeah, I think universities realized that this startup movement is kind of going around them. So they said, okay, we have all these students here, all these talented people, but we're not benefiting from them building these companies or doing these startups. Maybe we should start building incubation acceleration programs, helping them form teams here while they're on campus. Because as you know, sometimes these founders say, okay, we'll drop out of the university and we'll just do the startup. Well, so I think it's a very smart way to utilize the talent that is on campus, give them the resources, give them the support, give them the lab equipment, etc., but keep them there so university can also be part of that journey and can potentially benefit from the IP that these founding teams are creating. I've seen many times where the team of the startup would be combined in between, let's say, a professor and few talented students, and then university supporting that kind of team would have a part of an equity, just like an early investor. Basically, these universities would invest their services and other things they would provide and have a small portion. And on the next step, sometimes even a venture fund right next to the university that would support the alumni. And you can see a lot of this happening in the United States, where a lot of universities have a venture fund right next to them supporting the alumni. Stanford has several funds, for example, not directly affiliated, but investing in Stanford alumni for the reasons I mentioned before, because the percentage of unicorns coming out of alumni network is very high here. It's a very good strategy. And of course, the top universities already adapt this. They already do this. So to the rest of the institutions out there, I would definitely suggest looking into building an incubation acceleration programs for entrepreneurs to be part of this movement. Because I mean, this is a great thing that I love about my work. I get to meet so many talented people every day. And they come up with amazing ideas. They build amazing technologies. These are the things that will change the world tomorrow. So it would be very sad if universities, where people spend 4 or 5 years of their time, studying something and building their first professional network, would basically not be part of that potential big journey going forward. So, but one suggestion I could give is probably don't try to build it on your own in the beginning. Look around, because there's a lot of professional acceleration incubation teams around. Typically in every country, there are people who know very well how to build accelerators. I would say, hire those people to help you build it, train your internal teams how to do it right, Because in many countries, universities are government funded, and their system of hiring and motivating people and rewarding them is a bit different than in the private sector.
Yeah.
So you want to build accelerator as they would build it in the private sector as a business unit, because it has to be self-sustainable. It has to generate profit, in the long run. So that's one mistake I've seen some universities do, is they built it internally with their faculty members or academia approach, which doesn't really work in a real private sector or private market.
And don't have startup experience.
Correct. Yeah. You don't want this to be theoretical. You want people who understand how to build a real startup, people who's done it before, come and help you, train you, build the whole system, and then you can take over in a year or two.
Have you seen, and thank you for that, that's great, that's a great response. Have you seen like schools that run accelerators versus schools that actually have entrepreneurship in their curriculum, right? A lot of schools, and what's the success rate like? Like what's really working better?
So typically when you have entrepreneurship in your program, your curriculum, you teach individuals. When you have accelerator on campus, is you already help them form teams and you start actually building the product. Because one thing is you train a person to have the skill set, the knowledge, give them methodologies, some frameworks, some tools, and on the next level, on the next stage, that person starts forming a team and actually building the product, going out there to test the market, etc. So I would say it's a logical continuation of your entrepreneurial curriculum, the acceleration or the incubator, whatever the tool university will initiate, is those people who studied entrepreneurship, then they would come into your accelerator with ideas, maybe with some teammates, and then you help them build a product, build an MVP, go out there, start testing the market, and just move it to the private sector with your first angel investors, etc.
Love it. So you have all this knowledge that you've gained over time and you've shared with us. If you had to rewind your life like 20 years back, would you still do what you're doing today with universities, founders, students?
Absolutely, yes. And I would probably start a venture fund much, much earlier.
Okay.
Than I did. I always had that idea of, starting my own fund, but I was too busy with, building corporate innovation programs, accelerators, etc. Plus the markets I was working in, the CIS region, it was still premature. Not too many venture funds were successful in those markets.
Sure.
So I say, I would just add that factor, because then by the time today, we would already have unicorns in our portfolio.
Yeah, sure.
We still will, I'm sure. I'm looking at one potential unicorn coming, iSchool Connect, but it will take a few years.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you. So with all that's going on, and I know your wife is also involved in doing some things, and would you recommend your kids to also be founders when they grow up? How would you be thinking of that?
Absolutely. I'm one of those dads who try to lead by example. So whenever my kids, they want to do something entrepreneurial, 100% support. I even told them that I can be a first investor in their company if they decide to start one. I'll support them with the first maybe initial check. So definitely yes, and this is what we try to convey to them. The reason why we're here, we moved to Silicon Valley, is because this is the best ecosystem to start a company. And my oldest daughter, she's turning 15 very soon, in a few days. So she also is thinking about going to Stanford. She's very interested. So she's already looking for the proper pathways to get into this university. So yeah, 100% support that. I think it's a great journey. I have 2 daughters and 1 son. Especially, I see that there should be a lot more female founders and female investors. So I'll give 100% support to any of them if they decide that this is their path. But I'm not going to pressure them into becoming a startup founder because, again, it's a choice. If they see that they want to do something else, that's great. But having those opportunities is something that we didn't have as we were growing up in the Soviet Union back in time.
Yeah.
So for me, giving them these opportunities is something that me and my wife we're working hard for, and we hope that they will see potential in this and they'll do something amazing that will change lives of millions of people in the future.
Amazing. Well, they have a wonderful dad, and I get so much information from you and knowledge. I'm sure they get 10 times more, and I hope they are receptive to that. But thank you, Zamir, for everything you do for companies like mine and all the others out there, and institutions like Stanford. Really wonderful to have you present by my side at all times.
Thank you. We really appreciate, being part of your journey, and you do a lot of work as well with podcasts like this, spreading the word, spreading the knowledge. I think one of the things that we can do, being here in Silicon Valley in the United States, is share that knowledge with the rest of the world, and basically even out the field. Give everybody equal opportunities to be successful in their life.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, it's the place to do this from, right? I don't know if is there even a Silicon Valley-like famous place anywhere else? I don't know. Maybe Tel Aviv, but close second. No, not even close. But thank you. Thank you for this, Zamir. And thank you all of you for joining us in the podcast. Hopefully, some of your students got inspired by what we spoke today. Some institutional leaders who are here listening. Hopefully, you had a spark of an idea. If you want to reach out, Zamir is always welcome to working with institutions. I know that personally as well. So thank you for joining, and we'll leave some links in the description if you all want to reach out for comments and feedback. But this is your Edu Unlocked podcast with me, Ashish Fernando. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you.